Hello, this is me, Chris McGlade. Tickets are on sale for my critically acclaimed show, Forgiveness, at the iconic 100 Club on Oxford Street in London.
How can you write a comedy show about the murder of your father? Well, Chris McGlade, the Northern comedian, has, with his critically acclaimed show, Forgiveness, at the 100 Club on Oxford Street, October the 12th. Tickets at biletto.co.uk or at the 100 Club. Chris McGlade, Forgiveness.
Come down and see the show. Thanks very much.
From the people who turned a niche Scottish football podcast into a critically acclaimed TV show on the BBC, it's Review from the Terrace, a pop culture podcast network.
Hello and welcome to the Still Game podcast. My name is Bethany Tennick.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Scottish Rewatchable.
Hello and welcome to Review from the Turnbuckle.
Debating the best in movies, iconic TV shows, classic albums, peak era wrestling, and so much more.
Some intern got fired for that. Be like, Jared!
And what would you have done?
Loved it. What a moment. What a moment.
Review from the Terrace brings together a collection of professionals, pals, misfits, and special guest interviews.
The one and only Ewan Angus,
Big G Telfer,
director of Still Games, Michael Hines.
That's Review from the Terrace, a newly created podcast network with at least 2 shows dropping every week.
Aye, neighbour, good to see you, man. Good to see you, man. It's been a long time, man.
Many people will say it's the biggest moment in the history of wrestling.
It's about 35. Find us on Acast or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello and welcome to Stop Hammer Time. My name is Phil Whelans and we've got the Southampton game to talk about and 2 forthcoming matches against Dinamo Zagreb and Manchester United. And here to talk about those games are, as always, Jim Grant.
Good evening.
And award-winning, I'm always very, very proud to say, stand-up comedian Kevin J.
Good evening.
How are you, Kev?
I'm good, thank you.
Have you done any IRL gigs?
No, yes, I have. I was going to say no because I did some drive-in comedy gigs, which was performing to cars. So I guess that is in real life, but just by way of performing at cars.
That is, yeah. Cars and their owners. Where were those gigs?
They were at a drive-in. There was a drive-in cinema in Edmonton, not too far from our noisy neighbours, and they were in a car park for up to 400 cars hooting at you when you did well, or hooting at you when you weren't doing well. But
holy shit!
You can't tell the difference because a hoot is a hoot. So I smashed every gig.
It's not very nuanced as a means of communication, the hooter.
No.
Really?
How many of those gigs did you do?
I did 4.
Wow.
I was going to say, and then I've done 2 actual in-person gigs, which I was meant to do 2 10-minute sets, but they both ended up turning into about 27 minutes with me just going, it's so good to be here. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. I haven't got much material, but it's really good to be here. Real people in the flesh. Oh my God, this is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a few. I've done a few. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. Who were you on with for the drive-in gigs?
The drive-in gigs, I did one with Richard Blackwood.
Oh, yeah.
When he wasn't on Hollyoaks, he came down and did one. I did one with, you may remember this chap. He had a Channel 4 show called Balls of Steel. He was on Balls of Steel, and he was the militant black guy, and his name's Todju.
Oh yes. No, I've met him a few times. Yeah.
So Todju did one, and then I can't remember who the last one was. But
amazing,
half decent. Amazing. I mean, it still to now blows me away that people came and sat and watched comedy in their car, and they had to tune in to like 87.1 or something, and then listen to you through FM radio. It was really weird because you were
amazing.
Stood there in silence. You couldn't hear yourself. You couldn't hear people laughing, but there would just be like a 10-second delay and then some beeps after your punchline.
Holy smoke!
Wow,
that does sound. Was it fun or just weird?
It was just really, really weird.
Yeah.
I think after the first and second one, the fear factor was gone, and then they kind of became fun. But it was also that point of desperation. It's a bit like, when you kind of find yourself in a boozer late on a Saturday night or early Sunday morning going, we wouldn't usually drink here, but the fact that everywhere else is closed,
yeah.
desperation has led us here. That was basically what it was. All the comics were just backstage going, what the are we doing here?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
haven't worked for a year, so at this point we'll take anything.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. That sounds amazing. Well, West Ham United played Southampton on Saturday. Jim, you went to that game.
I did. I went. Yes. I had a very good seats for right behind the goal. It's very good.
Right.
And then the match started, and it wasn't very good.
No. Kev, did you see it on TV at all?
I watched the vast majority of it. Yeah, missed a bit of the first half, but yeah, saw the majority of it.
Yeah, I watched about an hour of it on a stream. What did you make of it, Jim?
Well, I thought it was an away point is always to be gratefully received in the Premier League, but it was a bit disappointing. I think we were a little bit off it, but Southampton played a canny game. They sat deep, and we struggled to break them down. And they really did a number on Antonio. Very much kind of just wrestling with him and playing rugby against him. Really,
yeah.
Didn't get a lot of protection from the referee, and they wound him up to the point where, of course, he lost his cool, and he's got to learn not to do that because. He's going to come up against this more and more. I think this kind of very physical approach to dealing with him, get very, very, more than touch tight and just grapple with him whenever the one where he got booked with Stevens, the first booking.
Yeah.
I was, okay, yeah, you probably, he shouldn't have reacted, but it was a little bit harsh because, the bloke was just bloody well wrestling into the ground almost.
Yeah, absolutely. And his reaction was after the action had stopped, because I think we got a free kick from it, didn't we?
Yes.
And I think, it's not as if like something happened and as a reaction, he did a physical thing to him, which is raising your arms to another player. He's actually wrestling, and then the other guy started wrestling, and he continues to wrestle and gets booked for what the other guy instigated. It just seems, it was very harsh and sort of bad reading of the situation by the referee, I thought.
Yeah, he didn't cover himself in glory, the referee, I don't think. No. Although on balance, I am in favour of the slightly more robust approach, and to the kind of waving play on get up.
Yeah,
I think everyone agrees it does improve the game. There are just going to be some times when it goes a little bit against you, and you just have to accept that. I think.
Yeah. Kev, what did you make of it all?
I think with Antonio, what I'm conscious of is I don't want him to get caught up in this. I'm incredibly strong. We know he is, and I think it was almost like he was jostling with Stevens to go, no, just so you do know, I am stronger than you. And I think there's a bit of kind of, if he does get out muscled, there will always be that little bit of afters where he just wants to leave that mark of going, no, I am really strong. I don't know if you've seen it in the press and if the media have said it enough. Look at the size of my thighs and we know you're strong, but sometimes I think you might have to learn to walk away. He's taken the number 9 shirt, and I think that in itself will bring a lot of pressure onto him. I think he's gone somewhat under the radar, despite scoring shed loads of goals and tearing some defences to pieces. It's always been a bit of he's having a bit of a good spell.
Yeah.
Taking the number 9 shirt and kind of going, okay, well, I'm now the top scorer in the Premier League era for this club. It's going to come with a bit of pressure, and he's going to be a bit of a marked man. I echo Jim's thoughts with regards to the game. I think Southampton, I take it as a compliment that teams are setting out with a game plan against us. I think years gone by, teams would just rub their hands together and go, West Ham are coming, do what you want. Instead, they're actually being very tactical, having a clear approach to how they have to get through the game to manage it themselves. Otherwise, they'll probably get beaten 3 or 4-1 in, like we saw back in the last season where we were just putting huge numbers past people. So I think we need to work on that game management side ourselves, which is, okay, when teams don't come at us and we can't hit them on the counter and use pace and power, how are we going to break teams down?
Yeah. You saw it last season, didn't you? I mean, Hasenhüttl said it at the end of the game. We decided to let West Ham have the ball and have them play in front of us and just sit deep and try and hit them on the break. And we saw that a couple of times last season. And we... yeah, it's difficult to say whether we were unable to cope with it and find another way, or whether that's just going to be the case. Because it's unusual. It's unusual for a home side to sort of deliberately set out to play like the away team, and that might be something that sort of really will take a hold after last season, where being the home team didn't really make any difference. I suppose up until last season, if you played a kind of very soak it up and hit them on the break sort of defensive game that was based around trying to nullify the other teams, eventually your home fans, unless you were Stoke or Bolton in the 90s, are going to sort of start to get on your back a bit, but perhaps since last season and people seeing that, especially since kind of less possession is starting to really gain results for even some of the big teams. Even some of the big teams are winning matches with less possession. Maybe the fans, having watched nearly every game on telly rather than just the home matches last season, will start to think, yeah, actually you can sort of approach a game by just sort of sitting back and soaking it up. But it certainly is something that we are going to have to sort of deal with, because we slightly want to sit back and hit them on the break ourselves, and two teams can't really play that way. Something's got to give in the end.
Exactly. I think Kevin's right. That I think it is a bit of a compliment. I think we might have mentioned it towards the end of last season, that some teams are just going to sit back and treat us like a big club, and the problem is we aren't really quite as good as Liverpool and Man City in terms of and not used to it as well. Presumably the training isn't necessarily built around breaking down a big solid low defensive block. So they've got to learn. They've got to get better at it. It didn't help that Ben Rama had a bit of an off day, and that generally they didn't seem to be. A lot of the crossing wasn't great. It was just. No. I think it was a combination really of Southampton's game plan, which nearly came off for them. With the one cleared off the line and hitting the post. But it was also the fact that I don't think we were quite at it either. There wasn't quite the intensity. And I have to say, and probably we'll talk a bit more about him, but when he came off the bench, Vlasic really made a difference. I thought he really upped the intensity and play. He looked really good. I was an impressive.
Bowen was really notably, I thought, head and shoulders above all our other attacking players in the first half. And that doesn't normally happen. No. I thought we were a little bit not at it. I thought we felt like we'd sort of rounded about 10% off our tempo, and that's happened once or twice. We're now a passing team. We, a couple of years ago, both under Pellegrini and Bilic, I was saying on this podcast, an opposing team manager would essentially just say, let West Ham have the ball, because by about the sixth pass, they'll kick it to one of our players. They're just so fucking hopeless in midfield. Now we're full of really technical players that will pass it around. We're very good at keep ball if we have to kind of sort of keep it down. And again, on Saturday, we were like that, but without really any penetration in the last third. And sometimes that final ball, that final cross was a bit disappointing. So often into the goalkeeper's hands.
Yeah. Yes, several of them in the first half in particular, I thought. But I think you're not going to be absolutely, as I said the other week, you're not going to be banging four past everyone. We've got to temper, expectations. We're still unbeaten. We're in the top half. And still looking good. I think there's, it's going to happen that you won't get points, on every single occasion. So,
No. I mean, we've said before, haven't we? Like Arsenal's invincible season, Manchester City's 100-point season. A lot of those games were pretty dour, chatty wins. You just put points on the board, and that's what we were very good at doing last season. There were a lot of sort of 0-1 wins away that it felt like maybe we didn't even quite deserve, but we got them, and to take a point out of that game was good. Yeah.
I would just say on the point around the intensity, I don't recall the last time we had that many players away on an international break.
Yeah.
No.
So the players that bring intensity to our side, Fornal's work rate, Souček, Soufal, they've all played throughout the international break, travelled and stuff like that, and that might be why Bowen was head and shoulders above. He hadn't been playing.
No, that's a good point.
I think it is a good point. And they've not trained. I mean, they've not trained with each other for a couple of weeks. So I think that's as important as anything else. Is that rhythm to the training and working with each other. And that Moyes did refer to. He felt they didn't quite click. That they've perhaps not been sort of together for a while, and you just kind of the finely tuned mechanism doesn't quite function as it should.
Yeah, the Czech boys played 3 games, didn't they? And the commentary I listened to sort of, I don't know whether it's true, but sort of implied that they pretty much played every minute of every game. And in the case of Soufal and Souček, you could see that probably being the case. They would probably stay out there for the whole game. So, my God, I mean, the work both of those put into just one game is extraordinary. I just to finish off that thought about styles of football. I always remember, Jim. Do you remember in the Pardew season, the 10th place finish Pardew season? We played Chelsea, and we were doing, and I think they were Mourinho's Chelsea at the time, and we were going sort of great guns against them. I mean, they were really having a good season, I think, and we were really going toe to toe with them, and I think there was a feeling in the crowd, Pardew, if you change it up now, we could get this game. He changed it up to be a bit more positive, because I think we played with one up front. We played with Harewood up front. We might have even played with 3 central defenders, but somehow we packed the midfield and we were cancelling. And he switched to 4-4-2, brought another striker on. Chelsea won it 3-1. It was just... and it was sort of, we were willing Pardew to make that change. And of course, we know how impatient some football fans are. Just change it, do something. I'm bored. This game's been on for 4 minutes and I'm bored. Change it, Moyes, And there was that feeling, but even we had that feeling of kind of going, we might actually beat Chelsea. We've just got to be a little bit more positive. He went positive. That was it. Game over. They won it 3-1. And it's difficult to if you find a way of playing, and this is probably what we're going to come on to now, talking about the Antonio suspension. It's difficult whether to stick or twist. If you've got a way of playing that works for you, sort of changing it up can be fraught with difficulty. But
I've got to say the away crowd was fantastic again, and there is at the moment going travelling away. There's no sense of that kind of frustration creeping in. They've got so much credit in the bank, I think. And it's really good to hear that. The away fans now fully sing David Moyes' Crown Blue Army, and I'm hoping that starts to sort of become more of a thing at home, because. It's really good. It's great going away with the team at the moment. These first few away games, back with the crowds, terrific. But the good people of Southampton didn't seem to see it this way. I was astonished at how many gaps there were in the stadium.
Wow.
That they can't fill it. It's extraordinary. It's not very big either. It was really weird.
That's interesting. All the kind of fair weather fans. It was not a hugely enjoyable season for them last year, I imagine. Funnily enough, early on, they topped the division, didn't they, Southampton? With about 6 weeks in or something, they were sort of topping the division. But then they really fell away, didn't they? They really sort of struggled. I mean, Jim, you thought that actually they might potentially slip into danger this year.
I still think they might, because they can't really, they can't set up that defensively all the time. I don't think, and they are. I think they might be vulnerable when they try and get on the front foot and assert themselves in games, as they probably will do against lower half teams. I don't think you can just keep selling good players.
No.
And I mean, they've brought that Livramento, the football they got on loan from Chelsea. He looks kind of decent, and they have got some good players, Ward-Prowse and whatever. But I think we'll look at that as 2 points dropped, and it is a away game for us. I think, I wouldn't be surprised if they were still in that sort of relegation mix.
Yeah. We'll be back after this message. Welcome back. So, yes, Michail Antonio got sent off and so goes missing for a game. What do we make of that, Kev?
I think last season when he got injured, I think we were all worried, weren't we? We were biting our nails, and David Moyes just pulled another trick out of the hat and kind of found a way for us to play. I think it could be a really good opportunity for some of our newer signings to kind of embed themselves and, look at that alternative way of playing, because it would seem that David Moyes has signed Vlasic instead of a second striker because he thinks that maybe he can play that. So I think what a perfect time in the season to give him that opportunity against United, which I think, if we're all honest, we're not probably expecting to get much from.
No.
So it's kind of a bit of a free kind of run out for him to go, look, this is how we want you to play. Go and give it your best shot at one of the best teams in the league. There's absolutely no pressure on you. So I'm quite optimistic about it, really. And I'd much rather Antonio be out through suspension than injury if we've got him.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I some of the kind of knee-jerk reactions on Facebook were, we're fucked. 4 games into the season. We're fucked. We are fucked. We're fucked. We are fucked now. And you go, we're not a one-man team. We're just not a one-man team. It might feel like we're a one-man team because we've got, essentially one sort of striker. But, I mean, he was a right back. He was a right winger until, about 2 seasons ago. So I sort of think, I really don't think that's the case. And like you, Kev, I'm sort of quite excited about the prospect. I sort of think that, we actually have sort of several guys vying for similar positions on the pitch, and another chance to kind of sort of shuffle the pack a bit and see what it might be like with kind of Bowen leading the line and 3 behind him of, Vlasic, Fornals and Ben Rama, and Bowen. Bowen up front. Yeah. Or some other combination, maybe Vlasic up front, is quite exciting. I'm quite excited by that prospect.
Yeah, well, I think in terms of the Man United game, we've obviously got, they've got attacking threats that we have to worry about. But at the same time, their defensive midfielder is like kind of Fred, and Maguire is a kind of traditional centre half. Really, he's a very good one, but he'll be winning the ball in the air. But if we have that, we're going to have an attacking 4 maybe of Vlasic, Bowen, Ben Rama and Fornals. That's mobile, technically good, pacey. That could give Manchester United some real problems, I would have thought. And with Rice and Souček, they are always going to be competitive in midfield. So I think we should have a right go at them, and it might be a very entertaining, high-scoring game.
How many do you think we're going to lose by, Kevin?
Oh, that's a. You phrased that in a way that's made my brain go, what?
I don't know. Let's see if maybe.
I don't think it'll be by many. I really don't. I really don't think it'll be by many. I think if Moyes approaches it with that front 4, allowing them to a bit of freedom, allow them to be really fluid and interchangeable, as he did last season with Fornals, Lingard and Bowen, when they were kind of just popping up on each other's wings and different people were taking that centre-forward role. As we know from when Man City play like that, it causes a lot of havoc for teams that are set up in quite a rigid way. So I think, as Jim said, if we go at it, of course, at the other end of the pitch, they could do a lot of damage. I'd like to see Zuma get his debut.
Yeah,
Agreed.
And I think I maybe by 2, but I'm always singing from the hymn sheet of West Ham get wins when they're not expected.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they're very strong title contenders this year, Manchester United, especially since they got Ronaldo. Ronaldo looks about 24, doesn't he? I mean, he looks about 2 years older than when they first had him. It's extraordinary.
He's terrific, but they need a better midfield and defense. I don't think they will be title contenders. I really don't. I think it's going to be. I think Chelsea are very strong this season, and I think it's going to be. And I think Liverpool, if they can stay relatively injury free, I think their starting 11, their first choice 11, is still probably the best 11 in the league. It's just strength in depth that is their slight issue. But I think, and I probably that's the top 4. The obvious top 4. But I don't think Man United are the complete package yet. I mean, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but Rio Ferdinand's right. They need Declan Rice in a way, and they will probably come gunning for him at some point.
Maybe. Yeah.
But I think we're going to turn them over. I've got a really sneaky good feeling.
Really? Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I think we're going to burst that away, undefeated away bubble. It's all been about them, whatever. They've had some relatively kind of rampant, relatively easy games. I think they're vulnerable. Are still vulnerable defensively, and I think we can upset them.
Vlasic did look good, didn't he? I thought he, I mean, it's obviously, early days. It was how much game time did he get? 15 minutes, 20 minutes? But I thought he looked good. He seemed, and I thought he was, I thought he worked well with the others. I thought he linked up well with the others. They are sort of similar types of players, those guys, aren't they? And I don't know if that's kind of problematic. The one that is different from the others is obviously Antonio because of his attributes and his pace. But Bowen in that game really sort of showed that he has a good turn of speed.
Yes, he's quick.
He's quick, isn't he? He is quick.
He is. Yeah.
I thought he had a really good game in that game. And it was possibly because, he was suddenly a little bit more visible because the others were maybe not entirely at the races to the degree they normally are, especially Ben Rama, I thought, yeah. But again, international duty may well have had something to do with that. But, it's sort of exciting, isn't it? I wonder, what the difference is going to be between the two outfits that play on Thursday and Sunday.
Yes, that will be interesting to see. I really find that hard to predict, to be honest. I mean, at least, assuming Antonio is going to play now on Thursday because he won't be playing on Sunday, so that's a sort of good thing. I don't know. I hope you pull out a decent, reasonably strong side. At least we've got a bit of depth now at central defence, and with Kral there, who's experienced in Europe. Maybe that means you can rotate, give at least Rice or Souček some time off in the game, if not actually a rest. So yeah, Lanzini might play, Yarmolenko. We've got players who are good enough, I think, to play at that level. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I mean, I sort of wonder, he's obviously, when he feels he's got the right 11, there's very little sort of change to that 11. And, this season, I think we made most of the way through several games without making any substitutions. I think Newcastle, that we were basically doing them to kind of chew a bit of time up at the end rather than, tactically. And I wonder whether he is sort of, there is a sort of mode of thought that goes, we'll just put our strongest teams in until we sort of wear them out and have to start rotating. It's sort of, Kral, I think, is a great is a great asset now. You know, as long as he's sort of decent, which he sort of seems to be. You know, the glimpses we saw of him in the Euros, he looked all right, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. And there was a feeling that he probably wasn't, as good as he can be in the Euro. So I mean, I don't know a huge amount about contemporary European football. To be honest, is this on paper the toughest game in the group? Do we think?
I don't know.
Away in Croatia,
Kevin, you were sort of know much about European football. I don't.
I mean, I was trying to toss a coin between them, or trying. Yeah, I don't follow them. I'm not.
No.
I know we definitely got probably one of the better draws. And I would definitely know if we were going out against AS Monaco tomorrow, how I would feel about that. I'm not actually sure. That's a really good point, Joe. I'm gonna swat up on that this evening now. I'm not sure. I think all of our European away days will be a real mix of kind of obviously excitement, but also a bit of a challenge because we have, obviously those teams are no mugs being in the competition. But I think, as you've said, I think we've got a decent enough squad, believe it or not, and I think there could be a really good opportunity for Yarmolenko, Lanzini to almost have a bit of a breath of fresh air because it's a new competition and a chance to kind of insert themselves in a potentially a bit of a slower game because it won't have that same Premier League intensity. So
I agree.
I'd like to see him go with a bit of a different look team for our Europa games to almost stamp a bit of clarity between this is our team that we play in the league and this is the league team that we put out for our European games.
Last season we had a kind of B team, didn't we, that went out in the Carabao Cup. Unfortunately, the second they came up against some decent opposition, they looked shit because they looked dynamite against the kind of lower league opposition, didn't they? And they were, a team of kind of sort of second string superstars because that really was kind of Lanzini, Yarmolenko, Felipe Anderson, I think, played in a couple of those games. You go, and these guys are all like internationals, and they put a couple of lower league teams to the sword. But then the second they came up against Everton, it was like
Didn't we beat someone? I think like 5-1 or something. And they should be playing every week.
Yeah.
Why aren't they starting?
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah. It was it was a sort of definitely. You really thought, God, we've got this sort of B team that's like snapping at the heels of the A team. You could almost just put that team into the Premiership, then Everton just turn them over effortlessly, and you thought, oh well, no, that can't happen. It was a shame, though, wasn't it? It was a shame.
But the windows meant that B team now looks potentially much better, doesn't it? So we could put. If he makes wholesale changes, you could have Areola in goal. That I don't think that makes you weaker.
No.
Diop and Zuma at centre back. That's not going to make you conspicuously weaker.
No.
Johnson and Fredericks as the full-backs, or maybe not quite as strong. But then Kral maybe, and Lanzini in midfield. Yarmo up front. I think Vlasic. It's looking better, isn't it? I think. As a squad in terms of quality, a bit of quality and depth. It's not. It's like we've now got like 1.5 first teams, really. We know.
Yeah.
But
no,
it's Don Peretta, friend of this podcast, is going. So maybe we should get him on and get him to report back.
Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Yes. Yeah, I think Rob Banks has bought a ticket for the Vienna fixture, hasn't he?
He's bought air tickets. But I assume he'll get a ticket.
So if he doesn't get it, he'll go and sit in a bar in Vienna and watch it.
Yeah.
Or go and watch some classical music.
Do we know what the allocation is?
Or some dancing horses. Don't they have dancing horses?
Yes,
or a boys' choir?
Yeah. Kevin, they just put the allocation up for the Zagreb game, didn't they?
Yes, there are more.
And do we know what the allocations are for any of these games? No.
Genk is a very small little. It's a small stadium. They're one of those kind of smallish clubs that keep producing talent. De Bruyne and people like that have come out of that club.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it'd be interesting. What time's the game on Thursday? Do we know?
5:45 kickoffs on BT Sport.
Right. I foolishly arranged to go to the pub with some mates.
Well, it could be a pub that's got the football on there.
I should try and sort of. Try and manipulate the situation to be that very situation.
Yeah, do some advanced research and then suggest the pub where it's on and be surprised, to feign surprise.
Stumble into the only Croatian pub in London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that on the telly? The Claret and Blue team must be Burnley or someone. Oh, wait, no. That's the team I support. That's West Ham. Oh, fellas. I'm just going to go to the bar. I'll be back in an hour. What's everyone having? So, given that we know nothing about Dinamo Zagreb, what are our predictions for the scores in that game?
Oh my God, absolutely no idea. I would take it's away in Europe. I mean, I'd take a dour 0-0. I'm going to go 1-1.
1-1. It's group, isn't it? So they'll play each other a couple of times. Yeah.
Yes, and they kind of sort of mirror each other, don't they? So our last game will be the home one against.
Yeah. Kevin, what do you think? You can't have 1-1 under our strict system.
I will go with a 2-1 win.
A 2-1 win to the Hams.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to say Genk 2. Zagreb 2. Dinamo Zagreb 2. West Ham 4.
Wow.
Yeah. You heard it here first. Go to your local bookmakers now and stand outside until they open in the morning and put your house on that. And I suppose we have to think about Manchester United as well on Sunday.
Yeah.
Jim?
3-2.
3-2. Ooh.
Massively entertaining. It's going to be
good. Kevin, what do you reckon?
I think we will win 2-0.
2-0.
Wow.
Now, under Pellegrini, we beat them 3-1, didn't we? We beat Mourinho's Manchester United. I think that was 3-1. So I might have 3-1.
Okay. Gosh, we're optimistic, aren't we?
Yes. I think that might be to them, but I'll have it anyway. I'll say it's to us. I'll say it's to us. 3-1.
Okay.
So I've just got the Croatian league up, and you might want to know that Dinamo Zagreb have played 7, won 5, lost 1, and drawn 1. Goals for 13, goals against 5. So.
Oh, blimey. Oh dear.
Yeah, but you have no idea what kind of
they're playing against
there is in that league. Who they play? So it's very difficult to. I mean, they're going to be good, aren't they? I mean, Croatia, they're going to have some good players, whatever, and they've got a lot of European experience as well, haven't they? That we don't. So, it'll be really interesting. I'm really looking forward to it.
What's their top team?
Idea what to expect.
What's their top team? Is it Split? Who's there?
Split are second in the league, yeah.
Right.
And then after that, I don't recognise any of them.
Yeah. Well, it's a pretty optimistic set of predictions. Possibly extremely unwise, but.
Then there's the League Cup game against Manchester United, isn't there? We're going to be podcasting before that.
Oh, what day is that?
That's next week. It might even be Tuesday. I can't. I'm just going to get the fixtures up.
Yeah.
I believe it's on the 22nd.
Hold on. It is. Yes, it's. Oh no, it's the Wednesday. So we'll have one the night before.
Oh, so we'll have one. Yeah. Bloody hell! God, they're coming thick and fast, aren't they?
Yeah, then Leeds away the Saturday after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Blimey, O'Reilly. Well, he's got to get a bit of his rotation going and resting the players.
They'll have to. Well, I think there'll be a big set of changes for that League Cup game, but then Man United will probably make a lot as well. So
yeah, that's true.
Lingard will probably start for them.
Yeah. It was great to see Jay Ling score, wasn't it? Even though that whole story was about Cristiano Ronaldo, Jay Ling still came on and scored a goal. And, in a way, they were sort of going, that really genuinely now signals the end for Jesse Lingard at Manchester United. He plays in the same game and scores.
Yes.
And scores 2 for England,
The one that's looking sort of slightly out of the picture now is Sancho, isn't it? How does he feel? They spent a lot of money on him and then brought in Ronaldo. And they kind of been the plan to bring in Ronaldo. It was like an opportunistic signing in a way, wasn't it?
But I think Sancho is Solskjaer's boy, though, isn't he? I mean, I think he'll still... it's weird, isn't it? I mean, I think... it's interesting. I wonder what the sort of psychology is behind the whole thing. It's like Lingard it feels like he might have made himself a bit of a squeaky wheel going, okay, I'll stay until I'm worth nothing and then you'll have to get rid of me for no money. They might have been making overtures to sort of sell him, possibly, hand him off to West Ham, but then they would have just dropped the price and we would have got him. I mean, I suspect he was reluctant to leave. He felt he had a point to prove. So it's a weird, complex set of, factors, because Solskjaer could essentially just freeze him out, couldn't he? Just go, you just won't play. You'll sort of train with the kids. I don't like you anymore. You've been a sort of squeaky wheel. You've been slightly moaning about the club, about not getting to game time. He could easily be frozen out of the team. But then he didn't. He put him on the bench, put him on, and he scored. Yeah. It's going to, and you're right, in a way. Where does that leave Sancho, Interesting, very interesting.
Or Greenwood. I mean, they've just got such riches in those positions, but they can't all play.
Well, they got rid of that Dan James guy, didn't they? I mean, he.
Yeah, but that felt, was always going to happen. That he's gone to Leeds, isn't he?
Yeah. All right, well, that is it for this week's Stop Hammer Time. Pretty positive set of predictions, and let's see how we get on when we see you again next Tuesday, on the eve of our third game in about 8 days. Extraordinary. With me this week have been Jim Grant.
Cheerio.
And Kevin J.
Cheers, thanks for having me.
Come on, you Irons.
This is a Playback Media production. Get all the associated links for this podcast at westhampodcast.com.